June the 27th, 2022. Guys, you're looking at current images over the Gulf of Mexico. You can see the Yucatan, the western tip of Cuba. And what we're looking at is kind of a sign every year when we're about to really get into hurricane season. The Gulf is like a big bathtub. You can see everything churning, and when you start to see the pop-up storms, you'll see them rotating counterclockwise. Just check it out for a minute. Now, you guys in Houston, Galveston Bay, you're about to get some of this rain, and I hope you need it. Most of the people do. Louisiana, you've been getting some of it. And this system that we're watching, this 20% chance of development, the center of that system now is offshore, and we don't know how strong it's going to get. And maybe just this low-pressure system pulling all this moisture in to all these areas that need it. A lot of farmers and a lot of food that can be affected if you're going through the droughts like we have been. But right now, this is giving us a very good look, again, of the beginning of the tropical season in full. Now, if you look at this, of course, you see the white lines where the states are, the continents are outlined and all. But every time I see it, I can't help but be amazed at the beauty of God's creation. And again, these are satellite images. Now, we did get much needed rain last night, and the temperatures are magnificent this morning. I had to get out early this morning and do a errand, and riding with my windows down just felt wonderful, guys. It's such a break, such a relief, and the rain is so nice. We may get some more of that today. But wide Atlantic view, the storms that we are watching, of course, the one off the coast of Louisiana in the Gulf itself. But this one is the one right there that we've been watching that has a high percentage of the chance of development. But now they're watching the one behind it, right in this area. And it's a 20% chance of development. We're going to look at the hurricane maps. But this system right here, I know I've got it paused at night as it's getting sunlight over the Atlantic, but it stayed together all the way from it was on the west side of the Windward Islands, and I thought, well, if it holds together through the islands, we may have to watch it because it's suddenly jumping into much warmer temperature. So as I put this back into motion, notice it is starting to have a counterclockwise rotation too, and we've seen this before, but we're just going to have to pay attention to it. Let's put it back in motion. And here is the one we've been watching. This one now, 20% chance. This one has held together very well. And at the surface level, notice that spin. Notice the throw out of the clouds centered right here. That time of year, I still saying we're about a month and a half or two ahead of the normal seasons because of the extreme temperatures. Normally they're getting here in July and August, this hot. But it started early, and the oceans have warmed early, including the Gulf of Mexico itself. Now, this is the latest from the National Hurricane Center this morning. Here, the system off Louisiana, 20% chance of development as these disorganized showers and thunderstorms over the north-central Gulf of Mexico are associated with a trough of low pressure. Development of the system is expected to be slow to occur while it moves west and southwestward at about 10 miles an hour towards the northwestern Gulf of Mexico and approaches the coast of southern Texas and northeastern Mexico. Guys, I know all of our friends in Mexico are suffering with dry conditions too, because when you talk about Lake Mead and Powell, all this Colorado River stuff, that ends up going into Mexico down towards Baja, and it's pretty much just a trickle, and so the drought is really affecting folks there too. But again, 20% chance of that developing, and this is going to it's bringing moisture now. It was a blessing last night. It is nice today. The garden is loving it. A lot of times when we did get a rain in the last few weeks, the sun would be out immediately or up the next morning, burning everything back up. But these cloudy conditions are really helping right now. Now, since earlier, they have increased this chance of development here to 90%. It says a tropical wave located about 900 miles east-southeast of the southern Windward Islands is producing a large area of showers and thunderstorms. Conditions appear conducive for further development, and a tropical depression is likely to form during the next couple of days before the system reaches the Windward Islands Tuesday night or possibly Wednesday through Friday. A NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft is scheduled to investigate the system this afternoon. Interest in the Windward Islands and along the northeastern coast of Venezuela should monitor this progress for the system, and tropical storm watches or warnings could be required for portions of these areas later today. Again, June 27th. Regardless of development, locally heavy rainfall is possible over the Windward Islands and the coast of Venezuela Tuesday night and Wednesday. Now, our third system here, 20% chance of development. It says a tropical wave located several hundred miles southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions could become conducive for general development later this week, while the system moves gradually west-northwest at around 15 miles an hour over the central tropical Atlantic. Now, let me say this. Notice that it has a more northerly track than the system in red that has a 90% chance of development. And another thing, we saw this in the last 2 years of hurricane season. Two of these storms together, the first one absorbs a lot of that Saharan dust layer and kind of opens a path for the second storm. In other words, you don't have the absorption factor of that sand tearing the storm down. But 20% chance of development there. Also, just keep an eye on the system that has just crossed the Windward Islands that I showed you earlier. Current spaghetti models, this came out 37 minutes ago, and they're still pretty tight. They're really along the very southern tip of the Windward Islands, skating along the coastline. The Navy model is keeping it offshore once it comes ashore, just again at the southern tip of the islands, and then it moves further to the north. That's the purple line represented here, NVGM Navy. The Canadian model is still bringing it out into the Pacific Ocean. We're starting to see a little bit more turn to the north and northwest in a few of these models. We'll have to pay attention to that. Remember in last night's video we talked about the large glob of orange and red over the Atlantic? That is the controlling factor. And when we're seeing our shields collapse, and yesterday I didn't put that video up, but it was worse than it was the day before in that video as far as the collapsing of our shields. Some were collapsing into the satellite band of the GOES satellite, and that radiation builds this high pressure in these heat zones. So we're just going to have to watch it. After this thing gets into the Caribbean good, we will know more about it. The models haven't changed much, but I think they will some, and then once it, again, gets into the Caribbean. Now, this is the Navy model. It's 1 day further than the last time we looked at it in its projections. Notice it does bring it into the Bay of Campeche right there. Also, this orange line, which changes daily, the high pressure, that is the steering factor for all of these hurricanes. The hurricanes naturally want to turn north, but the high pressure, if it's this strong, will keep them in a straight line, bring it through the Caribbean. If this is weak and just over the north eastern Atlantic, guys, you will see these storms turn and go up along the east coast, or miss it altogether and turn across Bermuda, go up through St. John's, and head over to the UK. Right now, that pressure is in place. I guarantee you it's going to depend on the way our shields are holding up against this solar wind. What we've been seeing is about 600 or 700 kilometers per second solar wind speed because of coronal openings. There's a huge backside flare yesterday morning. It's not an Earth-facing CME from what I can tell, but when we have CERN collapsing our shields, it amplifies and magnifies everything. You've seen it on your gardens. You've seen it on the lawn. You see it in the evaporation of the largest reservoir in the United States, Lake Mead. Powell's suffering down from that. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody can let us know about Havasu area. I think there's a dam in that area. I haven't been there, but I think there is one. So all three are going to be key. But if I get time today, I'm going to put up the information that I recorded yesterday. You'll see a side-by-side image of CERN, its timing and its peaks running very hot. And on the other side of the screen, you're going to see the magnetopause react to it. Broke it down. I've got it paused and the times marked. Very interesting video. And the scientists will not admit it. And after Fukushima, when we were watching the X flares head towards our planet, as Tokyo turned towards the sun that afternoon, they struck the planet, and we had the Fukushima tsunami and the destruction there. But since then, still not one person from the USGS for the earthquakes will bring that up. No one will teach it in the colleges. No mainstream media will mention that the sun and the solar flares and the impact on our planet is the cause of the greatest quakes we've seen. They won't mention it. And so they won't mention CERN and its effects on our magnetosphere and our shields either. Don't know why it's so obvious, but we know, and that's what matters, isn't it, guys? We're watching it. You watch it. Watch for an update. Heads up. Be safe.